Good morning. It is Monday, April 13th, 2015. This is your morning edition on I-24 News. Coming up later today, former First Lady, presidential candidate, and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton makes it official, announces she is running for president again. A new report by Human Rights Watch and Harvard Law School calls for an international treaty banning killer robots. And later on the show, Aiwa is a band formed by three sisters who combine Yemenite folk singing with electronic dance music. We'll hear all about it and take a closer look. Good morning, I'm Yael Avi, and we begin with the latest from the United States, where Hillary Clinton, former First Lady, Senator, 2008 presidential candidate, and Secretary of State, has finally announced the expected. She is running and gunning for the 2016 presidency. The announcement effectively begins what could be one of the least contested races without an incumbent for the Democratic presidential nomination in recent history, a stark contrast to the 2008 primaries when Mrs. Clinton, the early frontrunner, ended up in a long and expensive battle won back then by Barack Obama. Regardless of the outcome, though, Mrs. Clinton's 2016 campaign will open a new chapter in the extraordinary life of a public figure who has captivated and polarized the country since her husband, former President Bill Clinton, declared his intention to run for president in 1991. Mrs. Clinton was the co-star of the Clinton administration, the only First Lady ever elected to the United States Senate, and a globe-trotting diplomat who surprised her party by serving dutifully under the president who defeated her as Secretary of State in the first Obama term. As she launches her much-awaited candidacy, two questions hover over her campaign. Why does she want to be president? And will voters entrust their faith in her to possibly make her the first ever female president of the United States? We're joined in studio by former Consul General in New York and former member of the Israeli Parliament, Ambassador Colette Avital. Good morning to you, Ambassador. And of course, by my favorite, with us, our co-chair of the Republicans abroad. Oh, you as well, Colette. I just stopped myself. You are my favorite as well. With us as well, our co-chair of the Republicans abroad in Israel, Mr. Mark Zell. Good morning.
Good morning, Yael.
And American Democratic Party spokesman in Israel, Sheldon Shore. Good morning to you. And of course, joining us live from New York City soon is I-24 News diplomatic correspondent Tal Shalev. But first, let's take a look at the following report that recaps Hillary Clinton's announcement and take it from there.
Everyday Americans need a champion, and I want to be that champion.
Hillary Clinton made it official.
I'm running for president.
She's launched her second bid for the White House on YouTube and Twitter and was the #1 trending topic worldwide. Her presidential run seemed inevitable, even as she repeatedly dodged questions.
And I am thinking about it, but I'm going to continue to think about it.
But as she played coy in public, former Secretary of State, Senator, and First Lady has been building up a campaign apparatus for months, leasing office space in Brooklyn, hiring staffers, and laying the groundwork to hit the road in early voting states. Team Clinton's hoping the second time's the charm.
And they were promising a much different Hillary Clinton this time around. More accessible, more engaging, talking to voters more.
But looming over Clinton's campaign is the ongoing controversy surrounding the 2012 attack at the U.S. consulate in Benghazi. Today, Republicans pounced.
Hillary Clinton represents the worst of the Washington machine.
The point is, if we stick to the facts, and that's where we want to be, then we're going to be able to make the case to the American people that she has a product that isn't worth buying.
Clinton may be the Democratic frontrunner, but a new poll found that 72% of Democrats and independents say it would be a good thing if she faced a serious challenger.
Hillary Clinton now heads to Iowa this week for what's expected to be a series of smaller events. Her first big campaign rally will happen sometime in May.
Let's go first to Tal Shalev, I-24 News diplomatic correspondent standing by in New York. Tal, the woman with the timing, that would be you, in New York City. But let's touch first about this, not dramatic, much awaited, much speculated announcement by Hillary Clinton. Reactions, first of all, in the United States, the buzz. How has America reacted to this expected announcement?
Well, as you heard on the ABC report, it's definitely been a much anticipated trending topic that is only becoming more and more became more and more trendy as the announcement came out. But in many ways, there was an anticlimax because everyone was anticipating the announcement to be released on Twitter and on YouTube, while it actually was first announced by an email from one of Clinton's senior campaigners, John Podesta, to the donors. So actually, about half an hour before the video was released, Twitter was already trending with this email, and in many ways that was an anticlimax. But you could see people, at least here in New York, which is maybe a very a very warm welcoming for Clinton. But at least in New York, you could actually see people in the streets watching the video on iPhone. So definitely the buzz has been around for the past 3 days. That has been the only thing people have been talking about that has overshadowed even the historic meeting between President Obama and the Cuban leader Raul Castro. So definitely this is the talk of the town. And the question is, will it continue to be the talk of the town today when one of the most anticipated Republican candidates, Marco Rubio, is also expected to announce his candidacy in Miami?
Definitely the kickstart of this race that is being watched very closely in the Middle East. One more thing. President Obama basically also endorsed Hillary Clinton not so many, he endorsed her. She would be perfect for president. He said, do we think at this stage, is that good for her or bad for her?
Well, Clinton and Obama have a tricky relationship. You can first of all see that Clinton did learn or at least seems to have learned some of the lessons from the previous campaign in which she lost for Obama. It seems that this round she intends to have a much more humble campaign with much more direct outreach to the American public and not build on her entitlement or maybe name and titles as First Lady, Senator, and former Secretary of State, but try and speak directly to the Americans, to all Americans, as her campaigners have been stressing. And the Obama endorsement, or if that could be counted as an endorsement, is tricky because she also has to Clinton might have to answer for his failures, at least some of his foreign policy failures, as well as internal policy failures. So it is tricky for Clinton, and history doesn't play in Clinton's hands. Throughout history, only in one case, that is Bush the father, George Bush the father, inheriting or winning the presidency after Reagan. Only in one case that was the only case throughout history in which a candidate was reelected from the same party that the sitting president was coming from.
Right, she's got a tough battle in that respect. Tal Shalev, do stay with us. I want to start with the other woman in the studio. Hillary Clinton finally announcing it. When it comes to American politics, I think everybody was expecting it. And Ambassador Vital, when you look at the history, the political history of Hillary Clinton, do we think that the world, let's start with that before I turn to my esteemed colleague, male friends in the studio, do we think the world, because if she is elected, if she goes all the way, she's a woman, she'll be elected president, is the world ready for a leader of the free, of the leader of the free world, of a president of the leader?
Let's first ask if America is ready, and I hope that America is ready after a black president, perhaps a woman, and who knows, a Latino afterwards. I think that the world will take what comes. And I think that basically Hillary Clinton has been on the scene for 25 years. She has competence, she has experience, she's traveled the world, she's traveled as Secretary of State apparently over 1 million miles. She's been in 112 countries. If a crisis erupts, she probably knows all the players, all the situations. And in many ways, it is very possible, and I think this is what is going to happen. She will present not only a different face, more humble, more approachable, she will probably have to present a very different foreign policy.
I want to touch on that foreign policy and something that Tal Shalev very rightfully mentioned. Sheldon, I want to start with you. When it comes to campaigning right now as a Democratic candidate, much criticism that nobody can hide at about Obama's foreign policy over the course of the last several years. It's always up for contention. Also, it's a bipartisan issue. How can Hillary Clinton sell a different foreign policy, specifically when it comes to the Middle East, or tread that thin line when it comes to big issues on the plate right now? And what can she present to the American people? Do they even care, as we put it usually?
Well, as it happens, she's already done that. In an interview with Jeffrey Goldberg that was appeared in The Atlantic over the weekend, she'd already distanced herself from portions of the foreign policy of Obama. Two areas specifically. In Iran, for example, she said that she disagreed that Iran has a quote-unquote right to enrich. She says that Iran doesn't have a right to enrich. In this case, she's putting very little daylight between herself and the position of the Prime Minister of Israel. She says that there should be zero centrifuges, and she has a much tougher line on against Iran. So I think that she's already taken some steps. She's been out of the Secretary of State position for a long enough time that at this point she can distance herself at certain positions, and she has taken these steps.
Mark, I'm assuming that you're. No.
As usual, I'm here kind of holding the minority position.
Chomping at the bits here. I'm going to come up. But I'm assuming the Republican Party has also waited for this. Everybody, I mean, this is an announcement that everybody expected.
Well,
in many
you can
ways.
see we have a Stop Hillary campaign. It's been going on for long before her announcement.
Long before she even announced.
Correct.
But she is a forceful contender. She's somebody, whether
Absolutely.
America is ready or not. As Ambassador Avital mentioned, a lot of experience in politics. But can the American public, fathom that? And what is the Republican Party? What can the Republican Party, offer up front? Because, sitting from where we're sitting here, it feels to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we're looking probably at some form of a race that is Clinton versus Bush yet again.
No, first of all, I disagree with you. Jeb Bush is a serious candidate, but there are a number of candidates on the Republican side. One of the things the Republican Party is going to be offering the American public in this coming election is a race. The Democratic Party, as your correspondent pointed out, is not going to be having a challenger. It looks like Hillary is going to be she's a shoo-in for the nomination. By the Republicans, we are going to be having a very vigorous and robust campaign with 6 to 8 candidates, men and women from all walks of life. And Jeb Bush, while he's got name recognition and he's got money, is by no means assured of the nomination.
Dynasty.
Well, I mean, and if dynasty is an issue, then the
on both sides.
Then the Clintons have a problem.
On both sides.
But that's a problem on the Republican side. I mean, Hillary is a formidable candidate, but I think she's got a lot of weak points. One is her personality. I mean, she can try to do a personality makeover.
Why personality?
Because I'll tell you, Colette. I mean, the polls show it. 67% of the American people say they don't trust her. They think she has experience. I mean, I would say she has experience, but the experience
is
the
most experienced candidate in such a long time.
And if we have that kind of experience, Sheldon, we better really hold our hats, because this is experience of failure. This is a woman who served as Secretary of State, presided over Benghazi. She was there at the Cairo debacle. She was there when President Obama gave away the Stewart to the Soviet Union. She was there when Daesh was coming online and it did absolutely nothing. She was there when she was First Lady. She was there when she was First Lady, and her husband and she invited Yasser Arafat to the White House more times than any other foreign leader.
Well,
she sat there while Surah Arafat blamed Israel for giving AIDS, poisoning the wells to give AIDS to the Palestinians.
That's a low blow.
Didn't say anything. Didn't say anything about. This is the experience of Hillary Clinton.
I think this is unfair.
No, excuse me. She was charged with spearheading the health care initiative of the Clinton administration. Fell on her face. This is a woman who's had a lot of positions in politics, but has failed. Okay, and the public, see the email controversy, for example,
if that's your line, then there's no problem, because she's been a very successful politician. She's been the only First Lady to have gone into the Congress to speak. She's been Secretary of State.
She 6 months ago, she was leading every single Republican potential candidate by 14 to 20 points. 14 to 20 points. In the key battleground states of Colorado and Iowa, within the last 6 days, she's fallen behind and tied Rand Paul, for God's sakes. So listen, she's a formidable candidate with a lot
So that's our problem, and I'm very
lot
happy.
of problems.
I'm very happy with
I'm
her
wondering
being.
out loud, and I'm going to start with like, how far does one remember so-called? And I don't want to call them failures, not because I'm a woman or because I'm for Hillary Clinton, but it's like the argument that people had when Obama came into power. You're probably doing the same, that he was left with a terrible foreign policy of an invasion into Iraq, that people are looking at the trickles of its effect up to this day. I mean, one can trace ISIS back to the invasion, the U.S. military invasion in 2003 in Iraq. So it's looking backwards. I'm wondering if the thrust ahead is something,
Yeah, but her problem is she wants to. Sheldon mentioned she gave an interview to Jeffrey Goldberg, another Democratic sycophant. I mean, she is going to try to distance herself from an administration of which she was an integral part.
I don't think she's going to try to distance herself.
We won't let her succeed because she is, and she's part and parcel of that policy. And she's only been out of office for 2 years, and she kept, and even on issues like Iran, she kept herself very much on the fence while Obama was proceeding.
I think
with
early
his
on
policy.
you're misreading the campaign. If you looked at the video, this was a video, the coalition that she's building in this video, average, ordinary Americans, these are the same people that supported Obama. She's taking over that coalition against the fat cat Republicans who are interested only in the wealthy. And I think that is going to be the division, and that is why the Republicans are not going to succeed.
You guys are replaying the 2012 election. You lost in 2014. You tried that line. It didn't work. This coalition you're talking about that she's trying to build is going to crack in a number of different fractal lines, and the Republicans are addressing those issues, and they're going to
but before we bring it back home to the Middle East,
I'm not part of any of the parties, neither Republican nor Democrat, and I'm not an American. I'm an Israeli. I have met her when I was there as Consul General. I think she is a woman who has taken a distance in order to think. She is no doubt very thorough. She has written a book. She was put in a very difficult situation when she accepted.
The book was a flop.
I don't think the book was a flop. I think if you read the book, you see the kinds of dilemmas which she had. The distance between her policies and those of Obama. So I think that you have to take things in a different way. And if you are speaking of flops, let us also remember that during her husband's tenure as president, she was one of the people who really managed to get an agreement with the Republicans on the welfare reform. She has been, while in Senate, one of probably the most savvy politicians who knew how to work with and to get agreement.
That is to her credit. I mean, I must say, she supported the war in Iraq. She voted for it, and she should take credit for that.
I think that she is going to bring back government to the United States. Right now, the division between Democrat and Republican is so great, between Congress and the president is so great, she will be able to bring people together.
And there's something else. I remember very clearly one of the things that Bill Clinton was most credited with, the knowledge to create coalitions, including with people who had opposed him. And this is a model, and I think she is that kind of a person. Plus, I think she has done a great deal. You're speaking of a flop on the medical, on the healthcare. Well, finally, yes, you try again, and finally, who reaps that? It is President Obama, because if you look at what he did, in fact, he took her plan. So she, in that way, she's also a pioneer. And you have to not only to look at the fact that America was not ripe at the moment for it, but at the fact that she started pushing those reforms. So what I'm trying to say is that the woman
So she takes credit for Obamacare.
I didn't say that.
No,
I said,
that's great. You heard it here. On I-24 News.
But Mark,
I'm giving her the credit.
That's a political liability.
No, but the healthcare in the United States clearly an issue which will remain a divisive issue and needs to be solved one way or the other. People can, can fail at it or whatnot, but she attempted. I think that's the point. I want to bring it back to the Middle East.
She's not the only one that attempted.
True, but
it's been a bipartisan effort to deal with it. I mean,
and we don't want to go into lockdown in the studio. Remember what happened there. But that said, I'm talking about the lockdown. You're not forgot. But that said, Tal Shalev's still with us. this. I want to bring it back to the Middle East, because I'm assuming, Tal, and with your sources, that the Israeli administration is also looking closely at this race. What I'm going to say right now, the fact that the Israeli Prime Minister has most likely waged his bets on a Republican president come 2016, things that cannot be...
That's not fair, Yael. That's not fair.
Why isn't it fair?
No, come on. All right.
on.
I mean, the Labor Party spokesman here will
I'm not
say
Labour
that.
Party, my dear. It's
well,
okay.
Zionist Union, whatever you call yourselves these days. And come on, Yael.
I'm going to put Tal Shalev on the spot though on that, and throw the ball into her court.
We know where Tal Shalev also stands on these issues. I mean, we've been in the studio with her.
I know, but Tal Shalev in New York is keeping back to Tal Shalev was keeping up for us.
It's not only the Republican point of view.
I want you to have your own view. Have it.
Thank you. That's very
democratic. Broadcast it around the world, because it only helps the public.
That's
to
only
understand
patronizing, but who cares?
There are three women. There are three women battling to speak right now, Barbara. But just one second, Tal. The advisors to Benjamin Netanyahu watching closely. I mean, it seems fairly, the case that Prime Minister Netanyahu is going to be the Israeli Prime Minister leading into 2016 and 2017. Is there any chatter behind the scenes, irrespective of what I just said, the bets waged, okay, chatter behind the scenes in the Israeli administration of how she would be able to deal, if she's, president, with the current Israeli administration? Does she have a better relationship with Prime Minister Netanyahu?
Well, first of all, yes, she will. She does have a better relationship than President Obama, and I think that regarding the Israeli Prime Minister, he's mainly waiting for the current president to finish his term. It doesn't really matter who will replace it, if it'll be a Republican or a Democrat. If it is Hillary Clinton had a good relationship with Netanyahu, and her foreign policy views in many times in the past, as it was mentioned in the studio, the interview she gave to Jeffrey Goldberg just last August, in which she did draw criticism on Obama's foreign policy, and that will be one of the points that will be coming up. So definitely there is an anticipation to see who will be winning this race, but it's a very long race, so no one is putting bets yet. And just to note that despite what we might think about Netanyahu's preferences, the fact is that during his years of term, he has only been with a Democrat president. 3 years between 96 and 99 with Bill Clinton, and now with Barack Obama. So despite what we might think his preferences are, he has worked and will work with any elected president. And this current thaw during this current rift that we're now seeing with President Obama might or might not help or assist Clinton, but it will definitely be one of the things she will have to overcome. She will have to making a special outreach to the Jewish community, to the Jewish liberals. Some of them might be dropping out in the upcoming months, upcoming weeks, because of the Iran deal from their support of the Democratic Party. So definitely it is a tricky road for Clinton to walk on. And
it is that I'd like to move the discussion to, and it's Iran.
Just remember that this is the Secretary of State, when she was Secretary of State, that chewed out Prime Minister Netanyahu for 45 minutes for building homes in Ramat Shlomo within municipal Jerusalem.
Right she was.
Well, there you go.
Right she was.
There you go.
Right she was.
Okay,
and by the way,
I don't need to say more.
Yeah, no, and by the way, I have to say one thing. The issue of settlements.
Jerusalem I talked about.
I'm talking about settlements, not about Jerusalem.
But that's what she chewed him out about, building in Ramat Shlomo. And it's in municipal Jerusalem. You have a problem with that?
We're touching on
if you give me a possibility to answer, I will. I think that if you look at all the American administrations, whether Republican or Democratic, they all have been against the settlements. They all have said it from Rogers on. The Rogers Plan has not been recalled by anyone, and at least on the issue of settlements, whether it is Hillary Clinton or whether it is somebody else who will be elected, believe me, I think you will hear the same positions.
And when it comes to the, when we look at the hot potato issues of the Middle East, apropos settlement, and Tal Shalev will agree with me, the Palestinian-Israeli issue is not on the agenda, it is Iran. It's Iran that's going to trickle back, into 2016. And when it comes to that, I'm just asking, we don't know exactly the foreign policy of Mrs. Clinton on Iran, but when it comes to the deal attempted right now, we have to touch on it. John Kerry spoke to CBS's Face the Nation yesterday, asking U.S. lawmakers to hold their fire Okay, and Mark, and I'm asking you, how far is the Republican Party going to go to try and stop a possible deal, which right now criticism does not stop towards it, which something is going to trickle into 2016 with it, but, you know, it's moving ahead.
Well, look, Colette is the one that says, let all the views be heard here. What the Republicans in Congress are saying, listen, let us look at this thing. You know, we don't know nobody knows what the terms of the deal are. There is no deal.
Right.
There is no deal. There's some kind of discussion with talking points.
They're general principles.
And the Congress is saying, Democrats and Republicans, by the way.
We want to hear.
We want to know what's in it, and we want to talk about it. If we think that we can make things better, we have some suggestions. We'd like to give our views on the subject. The White House is saying, stay the hell out. And if you dare to pass legislation that
what they're saying is stay out while the negotiations are going on. Once we have a real agreement, we'll bring it to Congress to be discussed.
Here's the story.
We're in the middle of
it.
But in the middle of discussions for 47 senators, Republican senators, to write letters to Iran to have separate negotiations with Iran, it's unconscionable. The President of the United States is the party who negotiates this. If the Republicans have a problem, they should speak to the President, but it's their own inability to communicate with the President that makes them do ridiculous stance.
That doesn't want to communicate with the Congress. He's made it very clear. He gave a State of the Union address in which he threw down the gauntlet right before anybody had any legislation.
The gauntlet had been thrown by taking legislation that interfered.
No legislation. We'll see. There's a vote tomorrow on this.
No, but we've got 1 minute left. And Tal Shalev, really quickly to you, Iran, so much on the mind of the Middle East public, of the viewers, whatnot. Do you get the sense in the United States that it's top of the, I would say, of the people's agenda as well?
Not on the people's agenda, but on the media's agenda, and definitely on the lawmakers' agenda. And this week, after probably from today onward, as Kerry briefs Congress today and will be briefing Senate tomorrow, it'll probably take over the agenda, at least partly take over the agenda from the Clinton and Rubio announcements.
But, again, this is, the topic, as Tal Shalev mentioned, the topic that dominates the news definitely here, but as we can see, mostly in the race that is beginning in the United States, with the first shot coming from...
the polls show that Americans are concerned about that. It figured in the 2014 elections.
Well, I bet in 2014, and, we'll see where it heads towards June. I want to thank everybody in the studio. Fascinating discussion. We will agree to disagree. When we get back, a new report by Human Rights Watch and Harvard Law School calls for an international treaty banning killer robots. We'll take a closer look. First, though, more of the morning headlines. Good morning. It is still Monday, April 13th, 2015. This is the Morning Edition, I-24 News, the place you should be. You know why? Because this is where we say hello and good morning to our new member of the Morning Edition team. We're going to do our best to embarrass him. Ami Kaufman, seasoned journalist, columnist, great baker also.
It's very true.
I'm a very good baker. Also, exactly. Who is here with the news you missed while scanning the headlines? What is the news that we missed?
Thank you very much for having me, Yael. Thanks a lot. First of all, we're going to start with ISIS, of course.
Yes.
ISIS in Iraq.
Not going away.
They're not going away, and they're doing a lot of trouble in Iraq still, where they control large swaths of the country. The Iraqi prime minister is on his way to Washington, Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi, and he wants to ask Obama for billions of dollars in U.S. drones and Apache helicopters to fight off these ISIL militants.
Right.
And the thing is that he doesn't want exactly to pay for it right now, because he's got a big budget problem, thanks to a plunge in oil prices.
Right.
And he's facing a deficit of about $21 billion.
So that's not going to happen, most likely. Which begs the question of, I think, also the million-dollar question about ISIS: do drones and military airstrikes, are those really going to do the job? And I think for seasoned journalists as ourselves, here yes. I'm pushing, I'm pushing the envelope again. I think the attempt of the United States to distance itself and not go back into the ground with boots is something that we're going to be watching for. Probably
right.
In the next several years.
So far, Obama only has about 3,000 people in Iraq still. They're not active
advisors,
and
right.
they're advising the the Iraqi and the Kurdish military. But that's pretty much as far as he wants to go when it comes to boots on the ground.
At this point.
At this point.
Yes. Moving along. What else?
Moving along in the same, we're sticking with ISIS for another one, a few more actually. 2 Libyans were killed yesterday in Tripoli. This was an ISIS attack on the South Korean embassy. A security guard was killed and a civilian was killed when they opened fire at the South Korean embassy. And a supporter of the Islamic State group, their affiliate in Libya, took responsibility for this one. So trouble in Libya still after what's going on there, of course.
That's putting it mildly.
That's putting it mildly, yeah.
I think that where the Arab Spring has turned into the Arab Fall,
right.
Where many would argue that. So Libya falling apart as well. Fun. What else?
Exactly. Still with ISIS, Yarmouk, though. Yarmouk is facing a horrible humanitarian crisis. We're hearing now that the UN agency, the head of the UN agency for Palestinians, named General Pierre Cranboul, the UNRWA commissioner, is asking in Damascus this week to find ways to see the plight of some 18,000 people that are estimated to be trapped in Yarmouk still.
And not only that, trapped in Yarmouk, and the world doesn't seem to care, but massacres, whatnot, that was described.
Yeah, ISIS just got in there about a week or a week and a half ago, and there have been some rumors of massacres, of rape, of beheadings, of mass starvation.
Yeah.
There have been reports about religious leaders that are allowing people to eat dogs and cats because the situation is so severe now.
And yet, I would venture and again put in personal opinion that the world doesn't seem to care. At the end of the day, we're talking about what, refugees?
Right, we're talking about Palestinian refugees.
Yeah. In many ways, also in the country that seems to, been given up on, and that would be Syria.
Yeah, there's really not much attention going on, and not a lot of people, commenting about it, and it's
not much in the media.
Not much in the media, no. So we're trying to, pick that story up as well.
As much as we can.
As much as we can. Next item is also ISIS related, but this time in the Sinai. 2 blasts yesterday, 2 attacks. They're getting closer. They're on the fences. They killed apparently 13 people yesterday in 2 separate attacks. The first one was against an armored military vehicle that killed 6 soldiers, 2 of them officers. And a few hours later, they hit El Arish, and killed with a car bomb 7 people and wounded 44 people.
Jesus.
And a few hours after that, they went on another little rampage and shot at security forces in Rafah, which is on the border with the Gaza Strip.
And that's coming from where? This is the headline coming from.
This is coming from Al Arabiya.
And that's a respectable website. I'm just wondering, the ISIS claiming responsibility and whatnot. When ISIS is so close, when we're looking at ISIS on, in the Sinai, a hotbed for terrorists, but at the end of the day.
This is a group called the Sinai Province, they call themselves, and they have a Twitter account, and they took responsibility for this. And since al-Sisi took over, there have been a few hundred security forces that have been killed in the Sinai Peninsula. So it's a real hotbed
but the leading
for
line,
insurgency.
this is the Sinai, what they're calling the Sinai?
Sinai Province.
The Sinai Province.
The Sinai Province.
Okay, of the Caliphate. Of the Caliphate,
I suppose, yes.
With the Twitter account, and I'm waiting for the Instagram stream. And not making light of the situation, it's insane that we're living in a day and age where, your terrorist groups are more savvy, technically, than anybody else.
By the way, we saw that in the last Gaza war, where many of the militant groups were reporting about what was going on their Twitter accounts. And so social media is used very widely.
No, very widely. I wonder if they can fight it all just over social media and not with the smart bombs. Yes.
Very true.
Moving along to more death and destruction.
Moving on, but keeping with Iran and in our area in Yemen, which is turning out to be a focus point of the power of
the next Syria, many people would say.
Exactly.
In many ways.
Between Saudi Arabia and Iran, those are trying to show who's the strongest in the Middle East. The Sunni Saudi Arabians or the Shiite Iranians.
Well, at the end of the day, that's the big battle that's being waged in this region.
It is the biggest battle.
It's the one.
And this is an important comment coming from the Saudi foreign minister, who's saying that they are not at war with Iran in Yemen, where it's now leading a coalition of Arab nations in airstrikes against the Iran-backed Houthi rebels, who have pretty much taken over, I guess you could say basically most of the country now.
No, and it's the thing that the thing that's so fascinating, I think, about the Iranian framework agreement that's being discussed now, and we've said that many times in the studio, is that, Saudi's doing what it wants in Yemen right now.
Right.
Being seemingly okay by the American administration, while the American administration is actually, holding negotiations with the Iranians.
The nuclear talks with Iran.
Nuclear talks with Iran,
Right.
which shows you just how muddled, if one could touch the American foreign policy is.
Yeah, it's pretty confusing. It really is
slightly
confusing.
One last one.
One last one. We have time for one last one. This is we're sticking with the Iran deal, and we just spoke about the nuclear talks. The JTA, the Jewish Telegraph Agency, which we can see here in a report that's taken up by the Times of Israel, reports that Secretary Kerry and his Undersecretary Wendy Sherman met with Jewish leaders.
A Jew?
Wendy Sherman, well, she might be, because they met with some Jewish leaders during Pesach, during the Passover, to talk about this deal. Apparently, it was a kosher for Pesach meeting in the State Department. The room in the State Department was cleared of 11 goods. In honor of this.
That had all kinds of, they had treif in it, had bread in it, okay.
Apparently, no croissants.
No croissants.
The representatives were from AIPAC, from the American Jewish Community, from the Anti-Defamation League, and basically...
No croissants with your plutonium,
basically,
I like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Kerry was trying to convince them about how this deal was good, but it was off the record, and from what we hear, they don't seem very convinced.
No, not on the same page. I think that's one thing we'll be discussing a lot over the course of the next 3 months.
I'm sure we will.
Smooth induction, Ami. We're going to embarrass you more.
Thank you very much. Please do.
We'll embarrass you more in the second hour of the show.
Okay.
And as we move along, there we go. Staying in, the realm of death, destruction, and the possibility of it. Emerging technologies and artificial intelligence have transformed lethal autonomous weapons, otherwise known as killer robots, from an idea in science fiction to a deeply troubling reality. Now, the use of such machines, which have been used to some degree in defensive capacity, raises serious moral and legal concerns over accountability under the current laws of warfare. This week, the United Nations is hosting a meeting of experts on the matter in Geneva to discuss some of the implications of using such weapons, hoping to nip some of the issues at the bud. Now, ahead of the conference, Human Rights Watch and Harvard Law School published a report calling for a complete ban on such robots, claiming that their use would mean no one was liable for wrongful killings and might start a new robot arms race. So to further discuss this, we are joined in studio by Senior Research Fellow and Head of the Program on Cybersecurity at the INSS, Gabi Siboni. Gabi, good morning to you. The following trailer, though, which I want us to watch first, is from a Vice documentary on the matter. It sheds some light on the relevant questions of robot warfare and why people are so concerned about it. Let's have a look before we start our discussion.
But robots are getting more mobile and smarter by the day, thanks to the U.S. military funding research and development in advanced robots and artificial intelligence. Some people are excited about our evolving relationship with the machines.
They're a great tool that humans can use to make their lives better and make the world a safer place.
While others are deeply concerned about the dawn of intelligent, killer robots.
There is nothing that the U.S. develops in the military sphere that it does not want to weaponize.
Gabi Siboni of the INSS, I want to start with you. Over the course, I'm sure, Ami, you will agree with me, over the course of the last several conflicts in the last decade, there was the whole notion of smart bombs, of precision bombs. I'm assuming that's, it's like the precedent to this robot technology. Can a machine be smarter than a person fighting?
No, it's not the case. I also would dispute the thing that people assume that we already have killing robots. It means that we have machines that are autonomously active and without any human interference.
Right.
This is not the case. So I don't think it will be the case in the seeing future. So there are three types of robots that are active in let's say in the battlefield. So one would be not three that are active. There are three possibility for them to be active. So one would be a partially controlled, completely controlled robot by a human being. It means that you have a machine that is controlled by a human being, and it's only a remote human being is out of the battlefield, but he controls completely the machine.
Okay.
The second one will be partly controlled. So part of the mission is controlled by the machine, but other parts are controlled by human beings. So normally it will be only the technical parts are controlled by machines and computers, and the substantial part and the killing part, or the actual mission-wise part,
so the
decisions are made by human beings. And the third is a completely autonomous machine, and this is not the case. It does not exist. And I don't see it exists in the
You don't see that that's something that people are aiming for at the end of the day, the development of warfare?
No, I don't see that. I think that the development is always putting men in the loop, and men is taking the decision on any robots that we see, or any drones, or any autonomous machines that we see are controlled by men. One would argue, for example, like a minefield would be something that automated. That's it completely. It's similar to a completely automated robot, because there's a mine. Nobody controls the mine. The mine was preset, and if a vehicle runs over it, regardless of what kind of vehicle, if it's within the limits of the mine, it explodes. So this is a very sophisticated killing machine, a mine, and without any interference.
Yeah, but
this was approved by international law. So
by international law, but I think the comparison to a mine, it's taking it slightly a bit further. It's much more sophisticated.
Yeah.
It's for example, if we take the jump from smart bombs to certain machines in the field that are remotely controlled.
I would tell you that I would professionally, as a soldier, tell you that I would replace mines with sophisticated missiles, for example, that would target a tank, regardless of a human being in the loop. I mean, just see a tank and target it instead of a mine, because this thing you can operate it, you can put it in place, and you can stop it. With mines, on the other hand, you can have it. You put it in, and then a child goes in and bombs his leg.
And bombs his leg. But at the end of the day, when you look at the smart bombs back in 2003, or the
smart bombs are controlled by men.
But of course, they're controlled by men. At the end of the day, they do not have the precision that their so-called the administration of warfare wants us to believe that they have. They don't have precision of not killing civilians.
But killing civilians is something that is approved by international law. You have to understand that the proportionality principle, it says that civilians are, we know nobody wants to kill civilians, but civilians are acceptable if you are doing that within your mission, and within what they call a reasonable advantage, military advantage of your mission. So killing civilians is something that is unavoidable, and precision weapons has nothing to do, mind you, with autonomous capabilities. It's only bombs that are targeted to a point. That's it.
Now, when it comes to the concerns that the Harvard Law or the Human Rights Watch parties have, at the end of the day, though, isn't there a danger when we outsource warfare to machines? Is the lack
this
of
is a theoretical discussion, to my belief.
It is.
This is a complete theoretical discussion. This is not the case. However, as I said, if people are concerned by what we call completely autonomous development of completely
because eventually it will lead to that.
I don't see that, because look, this is it's like we are going to face a lot of autonomous capabilities in the future. Okay, yes. However, I don't see humankind as a whole giving complete freedom and killing robots as completely autonomous. If this is the case,
you have a lot of faith in humankind.
No. It's nothing to do with that. It's nothing to do with that. There are three.
Sadly, all the time we have. I think the point is given across. But as we said, the Human Rights Watch that will argue otherwise. Sadly, all the time we have. Fascinating subject. Mr. Siboni, thank you for joining us this morning. When we get back, what comes out when you combine 3 Yemenite sisters and electronic music? That is not a bar joke, rather actual music. We'll take a closer look at an interesting new musical project. Welcome back. It is still Monday, April 13th, 2015. It is still the morning edition. Last I checked, I am still Yael Avi, and thank you for staying with us as you should have. Why? God, help me pronounce this. The name of the band is Aiwa?
Aiwa.
Aiwa.
Yes,
Aiwa.
correct.
Okay, because last night when I read the research, I thought it was Awa, as in somebody hidden. Aiwa is a band formed by 3 sisters, Tahir, Liron and Tagel Chaim, who grew up in the small desert village of Shacharut, okay, yes, no, I just spoke Hebrew, that's wrong. In the southern Israeli Arava Valley, they have been described as having unique magical voices and lots of natural groove, combining Yemenite folk singing with electronic dance music. And their intriguing debut album of, again, say the name, Ewa, produced by Tomer Yosef, has been released recently, containing mostly love and protest songs of women in the Yemeni Arabic dialect. That was passed on as an oral tradition. They were first recorded in the early 60s by a Yemenite singer-songwriter Shlomo Moga. But I'm going to put all that aside because, you know, my father, here, there was a confession, was a singer. Wow. For many, many, many years, he played just with a guitar player who was Yemenite. And he had the same famous line about him every time he was on stage in the States. And it was, ladies and gentlemen, with my guitar player, every day is, you know, a celebration, and every night is a Yemenite.
Wow.
So,
wow, I like it.
That's nice. That's nice. There we go. So I think you should use that. And before we you know, hear what this is all about, let's hear a clip of, God, I'm going to say this again, Ewa. Okay, it's sticking. Ewa. Here's the debut. Let's hear a clip and take it from there. Wow. Okay. Yemenite music and digital. First of all, I don't know who's who.
Okay, so I'm Ta'ir.
Nice.
And I'm Liron. And I'm Tagel.
Tagel, okay.
And I'm the oldest. She's the second. She's the little one.
And I want your dresses. So
you can have it later.
No, clearly you are, and your English is from? Because you sound American.
We grew up with Americans around.
There are Americans in the desert?
In the Arava Valley.
Right.
There are many kibbutzim.
Right. So many Americans around.
Exactly.
Yeah. Is that where is the Western infiltration into the Negev of Israel what brought up the digital influence, the digital technical music that you've combined with the Yemenite music?
Exactly. But also we add the Western element of like harmonies, vocal harmonies. So it's an influence from musical theater,
right,
and Motown singers.
Yeah. And no, okay, so this comes about how you've been singing since you were very early? So since you were very young? I'm so confused. Yeah, okay. Dyslexia is a horrible disease. But you're singing from a very young age. Clearly, you're still very young. And now this debut album, okay?
Yeah.
And the combination of taking this old form of Yemenite songs, you know, when I read in the research, it said that it's female protest songs. Yeah. Protest against what?
It's about true feelings, like daily life issues, you know, love, pain.
And protest of women against a society that's mostly patriarchal. I'm trying to be, you know, a feminist here.
Yes.
Also, yeah.
Like what? Give me an example of a line in a song. Would be what?
My love, who turned you against me? Like
yes, the jilted woman, of course, who turned you against me. Yeah, who's the hoe? I said that on air. But that said, well, how is this being accepted by audiences? I mean, the album was just debuted. You perform, you know, you've been in front of audience. How is that being perceived by an audience? You know, reactions.
We receive so many beautiful comments, you know, here in Israel and also abroad. And it's heartwarming, you know, because people don't really understand the lyrics, but they get the groove and they, I don't know, relate to the emotions, I guess, because we sing
enjoy
with
the melodies, I think.
Yeah.
And sometimes the lyrics, I don't know, the language sounds a bit exotic, maybe like that. So.
Listen, it worked for Chaza, you know, for many years. But you know, it sounds beautiful. I'm wondering also out loud with you. Yemen is going through so much terrible stuff nowadays. Yeah. When did your family leave Yemen? Your parents, I'm assuming.
No, our grandparents immigrated to Israel in 1949. So many years ago. Yeah.
But still, growing up in the Yemenite tradition, I'm assuming in Israel as well from a very early age.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd love for us to hear a little bit because Ami actually is also a singer.
That's a lie.
Yeah, that's a lie. But I'd love to hear a little bit. I know you don't have all the. It's all about percussion. But when you say voice harmonies, is there something that you can sing for us that is just a cappella here in the studio?
Yeah. So, what would you like to try? The
let's sing the
lullaby
cradle song, yeah.
Cradle song. Okay. Ooh-way-ya, ooh-way-ya, ooh-way. عبدا رمانيه رمانيه يلعبوا خولانيه خولانيه ويا ويا في مناظر عالية عوالية ويا ويا واخوتي دمانيه دمانيه ويا
That was gorgeous. That was gorgeous. I am joining you. Okay, I will be the fourth one on your band.
All right.
Okay, I know there are not many blonde Yemenites, but I think
very refreshing.
I know. I think I can be the first. I'll just be standing in the back doing little voices. But you're touring already. Where can one see you guys?
Barbie, May 20th.
That's in Israel. And when it comes to overseas, you're hoping for also, to put this album to put it forth also overseas. I'm assuming.
Yeah, exactly. In Europe, but it'll take like a few months, something like that.
No, I'm loving these. What do your parents think about this whole thing?
Oh, they're very supportive,
and proud.
Yeah, they're proud of
They
us.
should be.
Yeah.
No, completely. And when it comes to the fact that it's just, just women, singing and whatnot, I think it's always a commendable thing. This is a women-themed type of day. Hillary Clinton is running for president, and Yemenite music is making a stand. I'm all for that. But you're locked in studio now with us as we move along to the real news of the day. Yes.
Yeah, well, first of all, with all due respect to Hillary Clinton, the Kardashian sisters.
Yeah, hold on.
The Kardashian sisters.
I have to say, when it comes to you girls, you can beat the Kardashian sisters. I think you need your own Yemenite reality TV. But I did not introduce yet. I did not introduce Ami Kaufman with the viral spiral that is the web review, that anything that is trending on the web is right here with this man. Shoot.
By the way, speaking of trending on the web, I see you guys on my Facebook feed like all over the place, so you are very, very trending. I hope that helps a lot. But back to the...
Yeah, and Ami Kaufman is a Facebook machine. So he knows what he's talking about.
That's not always a good thing, though. But okay. Anyway, the Kardashian sisters are the paparazzi alert. They are landing in Israel apparently today. We don't have much information about what they're going to do. They're going to see the holy sites.
Because we have girls in the studio who are not 103, as myself.
Right.
Okay. What are the Kardashians famous for? I don't know. I have a feeling, neither do you.
I honestly don't know. I'm pretty up there in my age as well.
The Kardashians coming to Israel. Maybe they want to join you.
Maybe.
They do have the dark hair. No, I think she went platinum, didn't she?
She went platinum. She's
Ashkenazi
not
now.
She's Ashkenazi. Yes, moving on.
Moving on. Are you a Nelly fan? Do you people know
Nelly?
the rapper Nelly?
Yeah, we know him.
Rapper, okay.
Yeah.
Well, Nelly has come upon some hard times, and he's been arrested for multiple drug charges. He was pulled over by cops yesterday. They smelled.
Yeah, I know, but it's so expected.
Not only is it expected, apparently it was really expected because that's what his songs are about.
True, exactly.
So it's not a big surprise.
That could be a great argument in court. He was just writing a new song.
Exactly.
Like
There you go. Yeah,
okay.
the cops found marijuana, 100 plastic bags, Ziploc bags, and some meth. So he's in trouble.
100 plastic bags.
Yeah, just empty plastic bags.
But he's a good one. He wraps them well.
Yes.
Rum pum pum. Yes.
Now, if there's anything that I like, it's items about celebrities that think too much of themselves.
Yes.
And they rule the world. Here's one. When
narcissists. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Victoria Beckham and she's known as Posh.
Posh, Spice. God, we are old.
So they were. So she and David Beckham were in their car in L.A.
Right.
And they stopped traffic for about 15 minutes because David had to go and get some juice. Now, in LA, when you stop traffic, this is not a good thing.
That's not a good thing.
It's not a good thing. They have enough traffic as it is to begin with. They don't like it when...
And David Beckham had to go and get some juice.
He had to go get some juice.
Yeah.
And Victoria tried to persuade the cops that...
that it's a legitimate reason. Never happens to us, does it?
The Bex needs his juice.
I'm
a Top Gear fan. I don't know about you people. Top Gear is a very famous BBC auto show.
No, it's a guy. I know of Top Gear because I'm married. Yeah.
There you go. And but recently
isn't the
Top
guy
Gear
who beat his producer?
Yeah, Jeremy Clarkson, the top show host, was the show was taken off of the air because he hit one of his producers in what was called a fracas.
A fracas.
Yeah, that was the word that was used in headlines all over. It was called a fracas.
That's a very British word for an argument.
It is.
Yeah, we had a fracas.
And millions of viewers, are left in limbo because the show is taken off and they love it. It's huge. It's huge. It's one of the biggest shows really in the world.
So I want to give you an advice for television. Do not beat your producer up.
It won't happen.
Won't happen.
Wait, let me just write that down.
Yeah,
okay.
Write it down. Jot that down. Do not no beating of the producer. Yes.
But Jeremy Clarkson said that he might be back somewhere else.
As in what? The
As in
WWW?
No, maybe another channel. So just a little. That's a good point, actually. But he might be back in another channel.
In another channel. It's like Israeli politics. You can never, never check out, like the California Hotel.
And do we have time for one more?
Yeah, we have time for two more.
Great, because this is a good one, especially for all the women apparently in the house.
All the women in the house.
I don't think any. I don't know if any of you use Tinder, which is a dating app.
We don't use it.
You don't use it? That's great.
No.
Because there's a reason.
Such dangerous territory.
There's a reason why you don't use Tinder, because it's apparently pretty gross.
Really? Oh. What is Tinder?
Well, it's a dating app where you just kind of swipe people. You see pictures of people and you swipe them, and then usually what men do is they get all kind of a bit too graphic with their language, and sometimes it's just really sexual harassment. So one of the there's a new app called Bumble, and it was founded by a woman who was the deputy CEO of Tinder. She left Tinder because of those exact reasons, and she made a new app that is more feminine friendly.
Oh, that's a brilliant revenge.
It is. It is. It's really good because she actually had a big fight with them. She sued Tinder. She complained the CEOs of sexual harassment
towards her.
Beware she left and she made her own thing, and it's basically the same thing. It's like Tinder, but the main difference is that the match is only made. Only the woman could strike up the conversation.
Nice.
The woman has to be the first one to start.
Nice. So girls, if you're looking for a date, I'm kidding, of course. Stay single for as long as you want. That would be Tinder. And one more.
And one more. We'll end on a happy note. Jessica Biel and Justin Timberlake welcomed their new baby boy.
Wow.
No Timberlake fans in the house? I thought that was going to get a lot more.
We actually are.
I personally I'm so happy.
And
yay! Finally. What's the name of the kid?
Here it is. The name of the kid is Silas Randall.
Oh, for the love of God! Why do they keep naming it? It's like Gwyneth Paltrow naming her kid Apple. Yes.
Silas Randall Timberlake Beal.
But Ami, that's fabulous. Now we can live. We do have a minute left. What I want us to do, because that was so beautiful, is to hear a girl sing again. Seriously.
I would love that.
No, because it was amazing. It can be even the same thing, because we have about a few seconds to leave us there. Can we hear that song again? So people will find you on the web in Israel.
Rain song? Okay.
فضلك يا سايق المطر تشكر يا سايق المطر فضلك يا سايق المطر تشكر يا سايق المطر تحمد يا سايق المطر.
Yes, as we said, Ami and myself will be joining AWA soon on the road all around the Middle East, not in Yemen, but still, girls, that was beautiful. Ami, wow. Do stay with us when we get back. When we get back, I think we have something more about economy and anything and everything that you need to know about tech. So it's going to be interesting. First, the news. Good morning, I-24 News Morning Edition on this April 13th, 2015. Passover in Israel, where we're sitting, is over. Thank Allah. Sorry. Yeah. I'm trying to embarrass Shai Ringel as much as I can. Shai Ringel of the Tube magazine correspondent, who's here with us to tell us anything and everything that is tech. But where did you celebrate Passover?
Very badly, alone in my room. I don't know. It was okay.
Oh!
I didn't have a lot of family in this
alone
holiday.
in your room? What,
yeah.
with a little takeout box?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's heartbreaking.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But thank God, Friday HBO started with HBO Now.
Yes.
Launched HBO Now, which we're going to talk about this morning. HBO Now is the new streaming service by HBO,
That's
which
kind
means
of combating Netflix, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's going to change the way we think about streaming television, because HBO, we need to understand what HBO means in the United States.
It's not television.
It's not television. It's HBO. It's a cable. It's not a cable provider, but it's a station that you can get through cable. It's premium, which means that if you are in the United States, you need to, first of all, to have cables, to have a cable company, and then you have to pay extra money, a lot of money for HBO.
For that. But, you know, before you pay all that money, I think you should watch a trailer of what HBO, what is it going to be called?
HBO Now.
HBO Now means. Let's watch. To simplify this for a second for the less tech-savvy viewers or humans, as myself and Benjamin here, this is basically another step towards moving all of us in the television business into this.
Into the internet. First of all, it's not the iPhone. It's not only the iPhone.
Right.
You can have it on.
But on your smart devices.
Yeah, but HBO did an interesting move here, because first of all, they didn't open it to the public, which means that if you have a web browser or just something else that is not Apple, you cannot have HBO Now. You have to have an iPhone or an iPad or an Apple TV. HBO Now is exclusively
an Apple TV?
Yeah, it's exclusive to Apple TV, which means that HBO is still not that open to everyone. It's an exclusive to Apple.
It's for club members.
Yeah, and
by Apple.
Yeah.
A second thing we need to remember is that HBO is owned by Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers.
That was very dramatic. Really?
Yeah, no, it is dramatic for
Warner Brothers. Yes.
It's dramatic for the United States because Warner Brothers for years didn't want services like HBO Now to become real, because they had an interest of people paying for cables, which is a lot of money. And now they're opening it for the regular consumer that doesn't have any cable. They call it the cord cutters, people who are leaving the traditional cable just to watch things over the internet. We cannot really grab it, but young people are not going to think about television the way we think. They're not going to think about linear channels. It's going to be very
They're not thinking about linear
them.
channels, and most likely about times of broadcasts or whatnot. It's going to be pick and choose.
Yeah, and HBO Now does it. It does it really nice. I tried it over the weekend.
On your sad weekend,
on my very sad weekend,
alone in your room.
Sure. Yeah.
To all those women out there listening to us, Shai Ringel is alone in his room.
All the girls I loved before.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Don't blush.
It was launched on Friday because today. And yesterday, in the United States, it's going to be the big premiere. It was already the big premiere of Game of Thrones Season 5. And Game of Thrones Season 5, when HBO had their older service, the HBO Go, for their cable subscribers, Game of Thrones, when it was premiered, the service crashed because it was overloaded with people wanting to
watch.
It was
wanting to watch
clearly
Game
a
of
very
Thrones.
big part of their marketing strategy now because it kept on coming up, right?
Yeah.
It kept on flashing.
And now what happened is that they had the big launch of HBO Now, and Game of Thrones was disturbed by the fact that the the first 4 episodes were leaked online. Game of Thrones is already the most pirated series ever. And
I always love opening this discussion about Game of Thrones, irrespective of the tech. Are you a Game of Thrones man?
I'm not, but I will be now because I like to stream.
You like to stream, there you go. And you will be
pirate.
very short because you're a man and essentially it's soft porn. It is soft porn, come on.
I have to say, I hate Game of Thrones. I think it's a very bad series.
And then you wonder why you're alone in your room.
Yeah.
You think it's a bad series?
I think it's a very bad series. I'm sorry.
Really?
I think
Khaleesi?
I think it's like bad writing. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, who's going to sleep with who and who's going to kill who?
Kind of like life.
It's like it's like medieval politics. I don't care about that.
You don't care about medieval politics. But 4 episodes leaked online?
Yeah, 4 episodes leaked online. It's very bad news for HBO, who really wanted the service to crash. For people to say, wow, HBO now everybody's on.
And that's my question. How easy is it to hack these streaming,
It's very, very difficult. The first, it probably came from a reviewer who wanted to write a review on Game of Thrones. HBO has it's really hard to do that.
It's hard to do that. Basically, don't try to hack it at home.
Yeah.
And what else?
Okay, let's talk about Tidal.
Yeah, let's.
Yeah. 2 weeks ago, Jay-Z launched Tidal. Jay-Z, the musician, decided that he wants, that he wants to, he wants to control the streaming music business, and he launched his own version of Spotify. He's not the only owner. Madonna is in it, and Daft Punk's in it, and Alicia Keys in it, and
it's like the Spotify of the Titans.
Yeah, and we are seeing now the very, very obnoxious launching video where all these rich people are sitting around the table saying, we're going to change history. This is the day we're changing history.
Oh, for the love of God.
Yeah, and you're very rich, so leave us alone.
No.
So Jay-Z launched this service. He launched it on the web, and it got really bad reviews because of the app itself. But what's interesting about it is that it's probably going to change the streaming service business for the worst. Because Jay-Z and his bunch of rich friends are going to release...
Not that I'm harboring any, hard feelings against them, right?
Yeah. Are going to release exclusives to Tidal. We are already, over the weekend, we heard Kanye West Kanye West said he gave up on $1 million deal with Apple. And we heard rumors about Taylor Swift going to Apple to their new streaming service that is probably going to be announced this year called Beats. So it's going to be the exclusive war. Which service has the exclusives on Kanye West, on Taylor Swift, on Jay-Z, on Beyonce? Tidal is definitely in that direction. And Tidal is an interesting service because it doesn't have a freemium, what it's called. It's the free subscription.
Right.
It's only $10 for the regular subscription or $20 for the high def
exclusiveness.
$20 a month. That's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money.
Yeah.
Now, I'm wondering, because I remember when the internet, and that would conclude when, back when it was invented by Al Gore, just kidding. But back when it was invented, it was supposed to be this, place where free for all, everything, open to the people, whatnot. But it's becoming just one more, I think, another representation of either big corporations, big companies, or people with money. Thank you, Shai Ringel, on depressing news on the internet. But we move along to economy. Benjamin Jean Alvarez, my favorite one, as everybody is. I know.
Everybody is?
I have to admit it, because anybody seriously watching this show knows I say this to everybody. But but I mean
hurt.
it from the bottom of my heart.
Okay, well, that matters.
Of the Economy magazine, still linearly watched every single day on I-24 News and airs what time?
7:10 Jerusalem time.
Sometime. There we go. And what do you have for us today?
Well, today we're going to talk about Cuba, specifically regarding the Americas Summit.
Yes.
Cuba being, brought into the greater economic world as Obama does away with 55 years of embargoes and
we have a little
sanctions
report about that because it is historic. Let's have a look.
It is.
Nothing here is replaced, only repaired. Since Cuba's austere years of economic crisis in the 1990s, Cubans have had to find creative solutions to make up for the lack of new goods under the strain of the US embargo.
Everything's recycled, everything can be repaired, and with anything that can be a bit difficult, we put a patch on it, glue or sew it, and it's fine.
These street fixers have become part of the communist island's landscape. Shoes, umbrellas, bags, mattresses, and even disposable lighters, anything can be fixed when left in their expert care. And if they lack spare parts or equipment, where there's a will, there's a way.
I brought this camshaft from Argentina. Well, not that one, a different one. It only lasted a week because it was poor quality, so I was forced to be inventive until I managed to create this piece myself. It's amazing. Sometimes I can't even believe it myself.
But with the announcement of a rapprochement with the United States and the relaxation of the US embargo that kept Cuba in a stranglehold for more than 5 decades, things could start to look up for these entrepreneurs.
There is a clear proposal to facilitate imports for the economic sector, both cooperatives and private workers.
For contractors like Raul, this would mean they would finally be able to source high-quality goods, boosting their businesses and perhaps one day their living conditions too.
Sabine Michel-Verse of the Economy magazine. When we look at Cuba, I think everybody, the historic handshake that we just witnessed over the course of the last several days, what does it mean economically there for Cuba? Because there are arguments that they have not really reaped the benefits of this so-called, opening
It's too
up.
early. It's too early. It's too early to really know where this is going to go. You have to understand also that Cuba has been exposed to certainly the European markets to some extent. Spain has been the biggest EU collaborator, so to speak. Holland following right after. There's a string of other countries. There's France. Of course, in Latin America, it has been trading. So there has been an embargo. There have been sanctions, but it has not been completely shut off. And little by little, there has been more exposure to foreign, partners. There have been more JVs. The thing here is, if America opens up, and this is, Cuba is in America's backyard, so to speak. That's a whole different, Game of Thrones.
Without Khaleesi. Yeah, but I mean, it is a place that, in layman's terms, is kind of stuck in the 60s.
Yeah,
and the 50s,
as
60s.
you just saw, for the average tourist coming from America or Europe, it's so charming. For the Cubans, it's not so charming.
Not so much.
Okay, they're basically, as you saw in the report we just had, they're just making do. They have to be inventive and incredibly creative, and we're talking about a very educated people. Frankly, when this market properly opens up, we have a lot of people who are both hardworking, who have incentive because they really want to get ahead. They don't necessarily want a regime change, so it keeps them popping up throughout the media.
Right.
But they want things to change. They make between $25 and $40 a month.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
They have this two-tier system where there's the peso and they have the convertible sort of called peso, which is more or less equal to the dollar, which is 1 to 25. So we're talking about people who really need to change their way of life. They really want to live better lives.
And it begs the question, though,
at what cost?
Yeah, at what cost? And will that actually, if you say that they do not want regime change, but we all know that once the West and especially America creeps in, the ideology, the way of living.
There are ways of going about it which will not, make you a slave, so to speak, to the system. Costa Rica has done it. I mean, there are various countries that have done it. They're bigger.
Right.
Cuba, of course, is a tiny little country, $70 billion in terms of GDP, and really not a lot. The services sector takes about 75% of that. Tourism is about 42%. there are various international institutions that can help without it becoming a situation where money is just sort of taken out and people are like strangled to death.
But as you said, time will tell. But it's going to be a fascinating process to watch.
It's going to have to involve the government. Government has to be vigilant. Has to be transparent. Has to be involved in the process to make sure that whoever comes and invests in Cuba, it is also and mostly to Cuba's benefit
and interest,
and that they push for the high value added jobs.
No.
That's really where
and
the
Shai
growth
will
comes
go
in.
there once they have internet.
Indeed.
Yes. Okay, that was it for us this morning. I-24 News Morning Edition. Do not forget to check us out on all those social networks, Twitter, Facebook, whatnot. And of course, tune in tomorrow morning for another morning edition on I-24 News, the place to be just because you should, you must. And that's it. Stick around for the news.